My name is Philip, and I'm a Cloudera engineer. I'm going to introduce you to our activity monitoring and reporting features in Cloudera Manager. Let's start with activity monitoring. Activity monitoring is all about seeing what's going on your cluster at any given time. Like a lot of features in Cloudera Manager, it's controlled by this time control up at the top. So, for example, you can see what jobs here were running around 1 o'clock. The charts on the right highlight overall cluster usage, the cluster-wide usage of MapReduce. For example, here at 1:06, we had 100 maps and 11 reduces running. You can see how an individual job contributes to that cluster usage by clicking on its chart icon on the left here. The table on the left has filtering capabilities. It's also got sorting, so you can see, for example, sort these jobs by duration. We've also built a couple of what we call pre-canned queries. So for example, you can see only running activities. Let's talk about activities. As you know, Hadoop jobs are often part of larger workflows, whether those are triggered by Oozie, Pig, or Hive. Cloudera Manager aggregates those multiple MapReduce jobs into what we call activities, thereby letting you understand where a given job might be coming from. For example, let's zoom in into this Oozie MapReduce workflow. When we click on the Oozie workflow, we see that this Oozie workflow is actually comprised of 2 MapReduce jobs, and we can see the stats for those 2. The final feature I want to show you is zooming into specific activities. When we zoom into a job, we can see the details of that job. We can see what tasks it's comprised of. You can also click on the Task Distribution tab here. Shows you a heat map of several metrics plotted against each other so that you can look for outliers. In this case, the number of input records is actually constant, so the heat map's a little bit degenerate. But let's look. The durations here go from all the way under to 2 seconds to more than 10 seconds. When you zoom in, you can see, well, the longer tasks, they're always on machine P431. Meanwhile, the shortest tasks are on machine P427. To me, that indicates something's going on machine P431 that's causing it to be slower, significantly slower, than the other tasks that are running as part of the same job. In general, what you're looking for in the task distribution heat maps is outliers. If you see 2 areas of density, you might be experiencing an infrastructure failure of some sort. Some machines are running jobs and running tasks slower than others. Or you might have an algorithmic failure where your job isn't actually splitting up its component tasks into equal bite-sized chunks. At high level, shows you what's going on in your cluster, lets you dig into jobs, figure out what's going on, why they exist, how they're related to other jobs. In the operational reports view, you can see both current and historical usage for both HDFS, the file system, and MapReduce. In the current usage, you can see the number of files as well as the number of bytes that individual users are taking up. Number of bytes is important because they affect how much memory is used by the name node for HDFS. So, if you find a user who doesn't actually use a lot of disk space, but has a tremendous number of files, they're likely to use HDFS wrong, and you can fix that. Let's look at historical disk usage. Historical disk usage lets you look over time for a user, for a group, or for specific flag directories, how much space or how many files those users, groups, or directories are occupying. This lets you track, for example, how much a certain business process ingests in terms of data every day. If you know, for example, that a specific process is ingesting 200 gigabytes of data a day, then you know how to plan for that capacity, and you know when you're going to run out. Also, if you see the graph move unexpectedly, you know something's wrong. The final thing that operational reports are useful is for indicating to your overall group, hey, who's using HDFS? Is our Hadoop cluster being as utilized as we expected it would be? Who's using it that we didn't expect to? This is both true in the HDFS usage and the MapReduce historical usage. The final reason you might want to use operational reports is to show the other members of your group how your Hadoop cluster is being used. Is it being utilized more than you expected it to? Less than you expected it to? That helps justify what's going on in your cluster, why you need to buy more hardware, where you need more staff, that sort of thing. Great. So we've covered two features, the Activity Monitor and operational reports. Activity Monitor lets you look at what jobs and activities are running on your cluster, and it lets you delve into them. Meanwhile, operational reports are about taking a step back and looking at your cluster usage over time. I will see you next time.